Hey, how you doing? Thought we'd have a beer today and talk about some of the schooling that I had for electronics. Up in Great Lakes, Illinois. Yeah, what a fun place to be. Yeah, well, the electronics school was easy at first. I guess it always starts out that way. So, what I decided was, well, I don't need to study. There's the club right across the street. Let's just go there. So, after a while, it didn't take long. Me and my buddies were over at the club every night, drinking and listening to the bands and the music and carrying on. It became a way of life. Well, of course, that means you're not getting sleep because we didn't leave the club until it was 2 or 3 in the morning. And then we always had stuff to carry on with, goofing off, until it was 3 or 4 in the morning. And of course, you had to get up at 6:30 in the morning to get your uniform and get mustered and march over to school. It's tough to stay awake in school. So you start dozing off little by little, not being able to focus. Because when you're half asleep, your mind's not paying attention to what the instructor's saying. So that was a problem. But still, like I said in the beginning, I could pay attention enough that my grades would be okay. But then as time went on, the classes would be building on each other, and you had to know the prior section to understand this one and this one and this one. And the way we were with going out drinking every night, we were not getting rest. There was nights where my buddy and I would be going out of the club when it closed, and we would hook up with a couple of these women. Next thing you know, we're out partying, and somebody's going, "Hey, it's 6:30 in the morning. We better call a cab." So we'd call a cab quick, get back to the base, get in uniform, and get in line to march over to school. So there were several nights we didn't sleep at all. Well, it didn't take long, and next thing you know, my grades were going farther and farther down, not to where they needed to be. So then the officer that was in charge of the base for the schooling called me in one day, almost like captain's mast, and he said, because it was his job to make sure people are passing their classes, he said, your scores were high enough on your ASVAB test, you should be able to do this. Why are your grades so bad? Because you're getting close to failing out of electronics school. Okay, it didn't dawn on me that my grades were quite that bad, but he was making sure I understood that, because that's his job. And he actually said at that meeting, uh, I'm going to give you like 3 more tests to bring up your grades, or you're going to be chipping paint for the rest of your career. None of this sounded good at the time to me because I knew he had the ability to do that. What he meant by that was, obviously, you're not studying because your test scores showed you could complete this class. You must be doing other stuff, which I was, like partying all the time. So it's different than the civilian world. If you're in the military and you can't complete that school that they guaranteed you, then that simply means they will reassign you to a different job that doesn't take training, like chipping paint. Because not many people volunteer to go into the Navy just to chip paint. But yet there are people who do that. And some of them are the ones who fail out of their school, just like I was facing, and they end up getting reassigned to a new job classification where their job is to chip paint. Definitely not good. That's where I was realizing I'm definitely walking on thin ice. This isn't good. And first thing my mind went was, does this guy have the ability to change my career path? Yeah, he's a commanding officer who's in charge of the school. And if you don't pass the school, there's still the years of enlistment. You've got to do something. He has the ability to reassign you then to a different job classification, which was going to be chipping paint. Now, that wasn't a desirable outcome. So, at that point, being on thin ice, I decided I better do something. And these are the choices everybody has to make in life, whether it's schooling or jobs or whatever it is. When you're on thin ice, you've got to buckle down and make up your mind that you're going to change things. Because if you don't change things, it could turn out bad. And I was not willing to accept that. But then again, when I went back and looked at my grades from the last several tests, they were bad. And I understood what he was saying. Now, in high school, I didn't have to study to get good enough grades to pass. But that's a whole different thing. High school isn't teaching you something that you're going to use in your career the rest of your life. I went in to get this electronics school, and there's no way that my mind was going to accept, oh, you can't complete the electronics school, let's just chip paint. No. Mm-mm. So it boils down to changing what you're doing, your habits, and the things like out drinking and partying every night, that can get put on hold until I get through this school. So I realized I need to focus, because it boils down to, what are you willing to accept out of yourself? Are you willing to accept the fact that you dropped out of the school that was supposed to be your career for the rest of your life? And I was not going to accept that. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of hard work. I knew that. So I decided, quit running around drinking every night, start getting some sleep so you can focus on the subject that the teacher is instructing at that time, and get grades that are high enough to pull your average up. That's what you've got to do. Because otherwise, if you don't make the decision to do that, you're going to end up failing out of the workforce, the schooling, college, the military. It doesn't matter what it is. But you've got to believe in yourself. And you've got to be serious enough that when you're faced with something, you make the decision, I'm worth it. I'm going to do this. Crack down and get it done. So, what I did in that case, like I said, quit running around, get sleep, focus on the schooling. In fact, there was another guy who was a buddy of mine who was in a similar situation. So we started studying together. And the next thing you knew, we had a group of about 5 of us who, okay, we'll get together here, we'll have a drink or two, and instead of listening to the bands and partying, we would quiz each other on the topics of what we were learning. So in an odd way, it was a bit of a study group. And it worked. Because next thing you knew, by quizzing each other and getting each other more and more wound up about doing well in these classes, it became a little bit of a competition. Like, hey, did you know this? And yeah, it's a little strange, when you're talking about electricity and stuff, but it worked. Next thing you know, we were actually getting better grades than a lot of the people in the class that we thought, were studying all the time. Then you start to realize, I can do this. I can excel at this. Like I said, my grades in high school were lousy because I didn't care. I just did enough to get by. But now, when you start doing something like this, you start to realize, I can do this. And not only can I do it, I can be better and better and better. And when it comes to a career, that's what you want. Because this was the career we were going to do for the rest of our life. And to throw it away for partying for a brief period of time, no, that was unacceptable. I know all of you can do this. All of you have done it, possibly with these things or those things. But remember to do it with everything. and always excel. Sounds easy? It is easy if you focus. But, once again, that's it for that beer. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you later.